Good day, Kahilaga. I am your Mame S. Lorilia, and in this video, I will provide you the second quarter, week 6 of grade 8 mathematics. But before we proceed or begin, let's play. Okay? Let's play yes, no, stand up. You are already familiar with this game. Okay, the mechanics of this game is I will pose some questions that can be answered by yes or no. If you answer yes, you have to stand up. If your answer is no, then you have to sit down. Okay? So, there are questions to be answered by yes or no. If your answer is yes, you have to stand up. If your answer is no, then you have to sit down. Okay? Are you ready? So, here are the 5 questions that I want to ask you. First, did you get your first quarter report card? Okay. Did you stand up or sit down? I hope you stand up. Okay. Do rectangle has 4 sides? Everybody knows that. Next, do you play outside your house? Okay? Pwede na ba kayong lumabas? Sabi ng IATF. Baka wala pa kayong mask paglabas ninyo, ha? Okay. Fourth question. Can you identify a hypothesis? Sit down or stand up? I hope you stand up to show that you have learned something from me from the previous video. And last question is 42 divided by 7 is equals to 8. Okay. Did you enjoy the activity? Some sort of exercise? How many times did you stand up? How many times did you sit down? And, of course, I hope you play or you answer the question honestly. Honesty. Okay, why? Kasi hindi tayo magkaharap, pero dapat ginagawa niyo yung pinagagawa ko sa inyo. Para ma-enjoy niyo yung ating lesson. Okay, since we already have some sort of energy and motivation to start our lesson, so let's begin with our topic. So our topic or lesson for today is the biconditional, inverse, converse, and contrapositive statements. This is under the MELC 31, which determines the inverse, converse, and contrapositive of an if-then statement. You as a learner, at the end of this video or lesson, you should able to determine the inverse, converse, contrapositive of an if-then statement. Okay? So, you have learned that conditional statements are true if the hypothesis and conclusion are both true. If we interchange the conclusion and the hypothesis, will the resulting conditional statement be true? From the previous lesson, you have learned that conditional statement has a truth value. If both hypothesis and conclusion are true or both true, therefore, the conditional statement is also true. But what will happen if we interchange? We swap. We switch. Pinagpalit natin ang conclusion or the hypothesis and conclusion. Yung bang mabubong statement or the new statement form, ay true din ba ang truth value? Okay, so that is our focus for today. In this lesson, you will be able to make a converse statement from the given conditional statement. The same way, an inverse, and a contrapositive statement can be derived from the conditional statement. So, in this video lesson, we're going to focus on interchange, in swap, in switching, the parts of the conditional statement. And what will happen if we switch or if we interchange? Anong mangyayari? Anong mabubuo kapag pinagpalit natin ang posisyon ng different parts of the conditional statement? But before that, what are the different parts of a conditional statement? Naaalala nyo pa ba kung ano yung different part ng conditional statement? Okay, if you're thinking about the hypothesis and conclusion, that is good. That is correct. Because the parts of conditional statement is the hypothesis and conclusion. Sabi nga, conditional statement has two parts. Okay, the hypothesis and the conclusion. So let's take a look with this example, with this conditional statement. If the lines are parallel, then they do not intersect. Does the given conditional statement is true? If the lines are parallel, then they do not intersect. Of course, it is true. The conditional statement is true since parallel lines do not intersect. Okay? But if we switch the hypothesis and the conclusion, will the resulting statement is also true? So punta tayo dun sa statement. Sa conditional statement. If the lines are parallel, they do not intersect. What is the hypothesis? The lines are parallel. How about the conclusion? They do not intersect. If you're going to interchange, so if the lines do not intersect, then they are parallel. Okay? So that will be the resulting statement. Is it true or false? If the lines do not intersect, then they are parallel. The resulting statement is true since lines that do not intersect are parallel. Okay? Susundan? How about this question? Or this task? Write the hypothesis and the conclusion in negative form. Negative form, opposite of the positive form. Or para lang yan ang mga antonyms and synonyms. Diba? Opposite. Okay. So, write the hypothesis and the conclusion in negative form. So, nabanggit natin kanina that the hypothesis is the lines are parallel. So, kung yan ay parallel, ang negative form niya is hindi parallel. So, lalagyan lang natin ng term na hindi or in English, not. If the lines are not parallel. How about the conclusion? They do not intersect. So, the idea is a negative form. So, anong kabaliktaran ng negative form? Positive form. So, ipapositive natin siya. Ina-negate natin. So, they do not intersect. So, tatanggalin natin yung negative term, do not. So, it will become, then they intersect. So, the new term or the new statement is, if the lines are not parallel, then they intersect. Okay? So, in our activity, in this example, ano yung ginawa natin kanina? Una, in-identify natin kung ang truth value ng ating statement. Then, bigla tayo sa second part, nag-switch. Nakabuo tayo ng panibagong conditional statement. And then, another task, write the negative form, nakabuo ulit tayo ng panibagong conditional and ng another statement. So, doon nakapaloob yung ating lesson. So, you will try. This time, you will try on your own to do this task. Okay? So, please get your learning activity sheet number 6 and answer learning task number 1. That came from your module and then inilagay ko na lang din sa inyong learning activity sheets para magsasagot na lang kayo. Okay? So, the task in that learning task, number 1, is you're going to do 3 tasks. Determine if the given conditional statement is true. Second, switch the hypothesis and the conclusion and determine if the resulting statement is also true. Third, write the hypothesis and the conclusion in negative form. Okay? So you have 5 items. So in every item, you're going to have a 3 answer. A, B, C. Okay? So let's say, for example, we get the item number 1. If the triangle is equilateral, then it is equiangular. So you have to answer the first question, does the given conditional statement is true? Ang sagutin nyo, ilalagay nyo sa A. Then, second question, if we switch the hypothesis and conclusion, will the resulting statement is also true? That is B. And C, write the hypothesis and the conclusion in negative form. Okay, are you ready? Kaya na? Kayang-kaya nyo yan. Okay, kahilaga. Prepare your learning activity sheets and your pencil or ball pen. I will give you 5 minutes to do this task, and afterwards, we're going to check item number 1. Are you ready? Kaya na? So let's start. Timer starts now. So, let's check. Okay? Please check your work honestly. Okay? Maging totoo sa sarili because you're just going to check item number 1. Okay? Let's check number 1. If the triangle is equilateral, then it is equiangular. The first question is, does the given conditional statement is true? So, true. So, 1 check if your answer is true. If we switch the hypothesis and the conclusion, will the resulting statement is also true? So, the new statement is, if the triangle is equiangular, then it is equilateral. Interchange lang. And, of course, it is also true. Another check. Okay? Last, write the hypothesis and the conclusion in negative form. So that is, if the triangle is not equilateral, then it is not equiangular. Okay. So that is the negative form. Okay. Another check if you got it correct. Okay. Who among you got those 3 correctly? If you get that correctly, all of them, then that's a great job. Okay. So I will check number 2 up to 5. If I will receive your learning activity sheet, if you submit it on time. Okay? So, take a look of this item. How many statements from the original conditional statement, if the triangle is equilateral, then it is equiangular. How many other statements are formed? Yes? 2. Okay. May 2 tayong nabuo. Yung nag-switch sa hypothesis and conclusion. So, from if the triangle is equilateral, then it is equiangular. It became, if the triangle is equiangular, then it is equilateral. That is another statement. And the third statement, or third formed statement, is if the triangle is not equilateral, then it is not equiangular. Okay? So, may tatlo tayong statement dito. And that is the focus of this video. We're going to discuss the different forms of conditional statement. So the first form of conditional statement is the converse, wherein we switch the hypothesis and conclusion. If Q, then P. Okay? Remember, the conditional statement is if P, then Q. Okay? So, if we switch, pagpapalitin mo lang ang hypothesis and conclusion. So, si P at saka si Q lang yung pagpapalitin mo. So, it will become if Q, then P. Okay. So, yun yung ginawa natin sa mga task natin doon sa recent activity, yung task 2, yung nasa letter B. Switch, interchange, swap, the hypothesis and conclusion, pagpapalitin ng position, ng pwesto. Okay. Take a look of this example. If P, then Q is the conditional statement. If the triangle is equilateral, then it is equiangular. If Q, then P. If triangle is equiangular, then it is equilateral. Nabago lang naman yung equilateral at saka yung equiangular. Okay? So, if P, then Q, ang conditional statement, then the converse is if Q, then P. Okay? So, observe the conditional statement. If the triangle is equilateral, then it is equiangular. Is it true or false? It is true. Okay? While the converse, if triangle is equiangular, then it is equilateral. From your answer in the recent activity, the answer is also true. The conditional statement is true. An equiangular triangle is always equilateral triangle. While the converse is also true, because an equilateral triangle is always equiangular. Lagi silang magkadikit. Pag sinabi mo equilateral, equiangular din yun. Okay? Since both conditional and converse statement are true, you can connect the phrases by if and only if. or IFF. Thus, it forms a biconditional statement. Tawag natin doon, biconditional statement kapag ginamitan na natin na term na if and only if. The words if and only if implies that both conditional and converse statement are true. Kapag daw po ang conditional statement mo at ang converse mo ay parehong true, pwede kang makabuo ng biconditional statement using the term if and only if. Pero pag nag-false yung converse at true ang conditional, hindi pwede. Okay, kailangan pareho silang true. So, buuin natin yung biconditional ng ating given. So, if the triangle is equilateral, then it is equiangular. That is the conditional statement. And its converse is, if triangle is equiangular, then it is equilateral. Paano yung biconditional statement? So, the biconditional statement is formed like this. A triangle is equilateral. Saan siya kinuha? Tinanggal yung if. Ano? Kasi magagamitin na siya. Tinanggal yung if sa unahan ni conditional statement. At saka yung the. Pinalitan na lang ng a. A triangle is equilateral. Then yung pinapagamit sa biconditional, if and only if it is equiangular. Okay? If and only if, provided yon nakasama dapat sa biconditional statement, it is equiangular galing sa conclusion ng conditional statement. Okay? Ulitin natin. A triangle is equilateral if and only if it is equiangular. Okay? So, a triangle is equilateral galing sa hypothesis. Then, susundan natin ng if and only if. And then, it is equiangular galing sa conclusion ng conditional statement. Okay. Let's try again. Another example. The conditional statement is, if a man is honest, he does not steal. Okay. If a man is honest, he does not steal. We're going to form the converse statement. Converse statement, if Q then P. Switch the hypothesis and conclusion. Okay? So, let's try. So, if a man does not steal, he is honest. Okay, kinuha yung does not steal sa conclusion, inilagay sa hypothesis, and then yung is honest from the hypothesis of the conditional statement, inilagay as a conclusion of the converse. Okay? How about the truth value? If a man is honest, he does not steal. Is it true or false? It is true. If a man does not steal, hindi siya nagnanakaw, he is honest? Of course, that is also true. The conditional statement is true. The converse statement is true. Then, pwede tayong makabuo ng biconditional statement. So, kukunin natin ang hypothesis ng conditional statement. Tatanggalin natin si if. So, that will become, a man is honest. And then, susunod natin, if and only if he does not steal. That is the biconditional statement. A man is honest if and only if he does not steal. Okay? Did you get it? The biconditional, how to form the converse statement, and the biconditional statement given only the conditional statement. Okay? Let's try another way around. Given a biconditional statement, you can split it into conditional statement and its converse. Kanina, given sa conditional, hinanap si converse, tsaka tayo bumuo na biconditional statement. Ngayon naman, ibibigay sa inyo ang biconditional statement, kukunin mo, or magde-derive ka ng conditional statement from it, at saka ka bubuo ng converse statement. Okay? Oops. Balik. Okay, let's observe the example. The biconditional statement is two angles are complementary if and only if the sum of their measure is 90 degrees. Tingnan nyo yung conditional statement dito. Tandaan, yung first part ng biconditional nanggagaling sa hypothesis. Yung second part ng biconditional statement, yun ang ilalagay mo sa conclusion ng conditional statement. So, focus tayo dun sa unang part ng biconditional statement. Two angles are complementary. Kasunod na kasi if and only, so tigil tayo dun. Two angles are complementary. Lalagyan lang natin ng if. So, if two angles are complementary, okay, then, lagyan na natin ang word na then. Tatanggalin natin yung if and only if. Then, the sum of their measure is 90 degrees. Kinuha lang din, di ba? Kinuha lang din siya dito. Yan. Dito lang siya galing. Okay? Yun namang, dyan galing yung ating conclusion. Dito naman galing yung ating hypothesis. Okay? So, how about the converse statement? Babalik pa ba tayo sa biconditional statement o doon na lang tayo sa conditional statement? Okay. Sa conditional statement na lang, hindi na doon sa biconditional. Okay? So, pwede na dito. If the sum, so kunin natin yung conclusion. Ito. The sum of their measure. And of course, ano yung subject? Ano? Ito. Yan. Yan yung subject. So, mangyayari, if the sum of two angles, pwede yan, if the sum of the measures of two angles is 90 degrees, then they are complementary. Ito naman, yung iyong gagawing galing sa subject, sa hypothesis, yan ang gagawin mong conclusion. Okay? So, pwede mo mabuo, if the sum of the measures of two angles is 90 degrees, then, sorry for the typographical error, then, they are complementary. Okay? Nalaglag si cellphone. Okay, balik tayo sa klase. Is it clear? Malinaw ba yung example na yun? Okay. Given the biconditional statement, write the conditional statement and its converse. Because the focus of our topic is all about the biconditional. Yung kanina sa part natin. So that will be the learning task 4. Okay? So, learning task 4 of your learning activity sheet number 6. Okay? So, you have 3 items. You have to identify the conditional statement or rewrite the biconditional statement into conditional statement and write the converse statement. Okay? Are we clear? So, I will give you 3 minutes to finish this task. Okay, set up natin si timer. Three minutes. So, edit. Wait a minute. Wag muna magsimula. So, timer starts now. Okay, time's up. Let's go back to our PowerPoint presentation. Okay, time's up. Yan. So let's check. I will check only one item, and that is for number 1. So, from the given by conditional statement, write the conditional statement and its converse. If your answer is, as the conditional statement, if a point is the midpoint of a segment, then it divides the segment into 2 equal parts. Again, the conditional statement is if a point is the midpoint of a segment, then it divides the segment into 2 equal parts. Then the converse, if a point divides the segment into 2 equal parts, then it is the midpoint of a segment. Did you get it correctly? I hope so. If you do, great job. Another form of conditional statement. So, natakal na natin ang converse and biconditional. The second, or the third, na i-discuss natin is the inverse. So, kung may converse, may inverse, of course. So, an inverse statement can be formed by negating the hypothesis and the conclusion of the conditional statement. So, if not P, then not Q. Liwanagin ulit natin. An inverse statement can be formed by negating the hypothesis and conclusion of the conditional statement. Negating, negative form. So, kukunin natin ang negative form ng hypothesis and conclusion. Pero, ang focus natin ay conditional statement. Okay, hindi converse, hindi biconditional, kundi conditional statement. So, if not P, then not Q. But if P, then Q. Dito, if not P, then not Q. Kunin ulit natin yung una nating example. Yung tungkol sa triangle. If P, then Q, that is our conditional statement. If the triangle is equilateral, then it is equiangular. So, if not P, then not Q, lalagyan lang natin ang negative form. If triangle is not an equilateral, then it is not an equiangular. Okay, nilagyan ng not. Okay, is it clear? Yung pangalawa nating example tungkol dun sa man that is honest. If a man is honest, he does not steal. That is our conditional statement. The converse that we have formed, if a man does not steal, he is honest. So this inverse statement is, if a man is not honest, he steal. Ang binigyan natin pansin dito ay yung ating conditional statement. Ito yung ating negate. Yan. At saka ito. Yan. Yung is honest, kinuha natin yung negative form niya, ginawa natin siyang not honest. Yun namang does not steal, dahil kukunin din natin yung negative niya or yung opposite. So, kung yan ay does not, so magiging tatanggalin na siya. I-omit na siya. Kasi, yun yung kabaliktaran. Hindi siya nagnanakaw, so ang kabaliktaran, nagnanakaw. Diba? Okay. So, of course, yung ating biconditional statement na nabuo kanina, a man is honest if and only if he does not steal. Okay? Now, a contrapositive. Contrapositive switch the hypothesis and conclusion and state their opposites, or when you negate the converse statement. If not P, then not Q. So, sa contrapositive, interchange the hypothesis and then get the negative form of the hypothesis and the conclusion made. Or, mas madaling isipin or mas madaling gawin, you negate the converse statement. Get the negative form of the converse statement. Kasi kanina, si inverse, negative form ni conditional statement. Ngayon naman, si contrapositive ay negative form ni converse. Okay? Let's try the example. If P, then Q. If the triangle is equilateral, then it is equiangular. So, dito, if not Q, then not P. That is the contrapositive. So, if triangle is not an equiangular, then it is not equilateral. Okay? So, pinagpalit yung hypothesis at saka yung conclusion. Then, get the negative form. Okay? Try the other example. Or, okay na yan. O, balikan natin yung kanina. Ano yung kanina? Sabi, if a man is honest, he does not steal. So, ang ating converse kanina, if a man does not steal, he is honest. So, kung kukunin natin ang kanyang contrapositive, if a man steal, then he is not honest. Okay? So, in order to make a logical equivalence of statement, you need first to determine the hypothesis and the conclusion. So, napakalaking part or napakahalaga na dapat marunong ka mag-identify ng hypothesis and conclusion. Okay? So, and after that, you need to write or rewrite them to identify its converse, inverse, and contrapositive. If you want to get the forms or equivalence of conditional statement. Kasi kapag natukoy mo na, o madali mo natukoy ang hypothesis and conclusion, madali na para sa iyo ang makuha or ma-determine ang converse, inverse, and contrapositive statement. Okay? So, look at this pattern of the different forms of conditional statement. The conditional statement, if P, then Q. Converse statement, if Q, then P. switch, interchange. Inverse, if not P, then not Q. The negative form of the conditional statement. Related si conditional kay inverse. Then, the contrapositive statement, if not Q, then not P. Related naman siya, or the negative form naman siya ng converse statement. Okay? So, let's try another example. All angles measures 90 degree is a right angle. So, identify the P. Ano ang P? An angle measures 90 degree. Kasi subject natin ay angle. So, an angle measures 90 degree. Our Q, a right angle. Siya yung nasa description, nasa dulo. So, let's make a conditional statement. Since our subject is angle, if an angle measures 90 degree, then it is a right angle. That is the conditional. Converse, pagpalitin ang posisyon ni P and Q. So, if an angle is a right angle, then it measures 90 degree. Okay? Inverse. If an angle does not measures 90 degree, then it is not a right angle. Si inverse, binalikan si conditional, nilagyan lang ng does not, yung part ng hypothesis, at saka ng not, yung part ng conclusion. Contrapositive, binalikan si converse, ni-negate. If an angle is not a right angle, then it does not measures 90 degrees. Okay. Nakuha po ba yun?
Okay, let's take another example. Okay? So, in this example, wearing face mask can avoid the spread of COVID virus. So, we're going to make or determine the if-then statement or the conditional statement. But first, identify the hypothesis and the conclusion. What is P? Our hypothesis. So, saan manggagaling yon? In our first part of the statement. Yan. Wearing face mask. And our conclusion, dito siya manggagaling. The spread of COVID virus. So, our P is wear face mask, and our Q is avoid the spread of COVID virus. So, how can we form the conditional statement? If-then statement. So, we are going to use if. If you wear face mask, then you can avoid the spread of COVID virus. So, from the conditional statement, we can create or we can determine the converse statement. Just interchange the hypothesis and the conclusion. If you avoid the spread of COVID virus, then you will wear or you will wear face mask. While the inverse is you have to negate. Write the negative form of the conditional statement just by adding not or by adding does not. So, if you will not wear face mask, then you cannot avoid the spread of COVID virus. And lastly, the contrapositive is to negate the converse. Si inverse nag-negate ng conditional statement, so si contrapositive mag-negate ng converse. So, nakikita niyo yung pares-pares nila. Okay. So, if you will not avoid the spread of COVID virus, then you will not wear face mask. Okay? Is the example clear? Any question? May tanong po ba? So, the example is good.
Okay. So, syempre lahat tayo gusto natin mawala na ang COVID virus para makabalik na tayo sa pag-aaral ng face-to-face. But sooner or later, mawawala din si COVID. Just pray. And take precautionary measures to avoid COVID virus. Don't forget to wear face masks, face shield, and wash your hand every day. Take vitamins para makaiwas tayo sa COVID virus. Okay? So, since you are already familiar with the conditional statement, converse statement, inverse statement, contrapositive statement, let's have an activity in your learning activity sheet. This is an additional learning task 1. Okay. In this activity, you have this copy on the second page of your learning activity sheet number 6. So, you only need the following. Color blue, red, and yellow. In each box, you are given 2 statements. The first is a conditional statement, and the second could be its converse, inverse, or contrapositive. You have to color the box blue if it's belong to converse group, red if it's an inverse group, and yellow if it's a contrapositive group. So, yung mga nasa box na to, yan, yung mga nasa box na yan, kukulayan nyo yan. So, ang isang statement ay conditional statement. I-check nyo or i-determine ninyo or identify if the second statement is a converse, inverse, contrapositive. Kung yun ang kapartner ng conditional statement. If it's converse, kulayan nyo yung buong box ng blue. Kung yan naman ay inverse, kulayan nyo ng red. Kung yan naman ay contrapositive, kulayan nyo ng yellow. Okay? Maliwanag po yun? Example natin, piling ko yung una, blue. Yan, kukulayan ko yan. So, kuha kayo ng color ninyo, yung buong box. Ganyan yung gagawin ninyo. Maliwanag po ba? Okay? For this activity, bibigyan ko kayo ng 5 minutes. Okay? 5 minutes to do this activity. So, get your learning activity sheets and color blue, red, and yellow. So, timer starts. Edit the time. Now. let's return to our PowerPoint. So that was a creative, colorful activity. So we will not check virtually. I will check your answer when I get your learning activity sheets. So I'm so excited to see how you color your activity. Okay? So last part. Okay, last activity. Still on your learning activity sheets. So page 1, the learning task number 3. So you have to write each sentence as a conditional statement, converse statement, inverse statement, and contrapositive statement. So you have to change those statement or sentences into the conditional statement or the if-then and determine its converse, inverse, and contrapositive statement. This activity, iiwanan ko na po ito sa inyo. Hindi na po tayo magta-timer dito. This will be your task at home. Okay? I hope you enjoy this activity. Okay. So, but before you do that task, remember the following, that there are different forms of the statement. The converse, wherein you switch the hypothesis and the conclusion. If Q, then P. Okay? The inverse, an inverse statement can be formed by negating the hypothesis and the conclusion of the conditional statement. If not P, then not Q. And the contrapositive, switch the hypothesis and conclusion and state their opposites, or when you negate the converse statement, not Q, then not P. Okay? So those are the different parts of this video, or our target in this video lesson. So conditional statement, if P, then Q. Converse statement, if Q, then P. Inverse statement, if not P, then not Q. And contrapositive statement, if not Q, then not P. Those are the things to remember in this video lesson. Okay, so I hope you learn a lot in this video. So remember, I always say to you, enjoy learning mathematics. Kahit anong hirap niyan, laging may solusyon. That's all. Good day. Bye-bye, Kahilaga.